Ambassador Zethkar sat in the white meeting room, looking at papers about Earth's military power. The room was cold and quiet like most places on Kepler 442 station. He had been a military leader for over 200 years. He had helped the Galactic Council take control of 17 different worlds. Today was supposed to be easy work. The humans were new. They had just learned how to travel between stars a few years ago. Their planet showed signs of constant fighting throughout their history. Wars, battles, and conflicts seemed to follow them everywhere. The Council's military experts had looked at Earth's weapons and armies. The report said humans were not dangerous. Their weapons were old. Their ships were slow. Their governments could not work together. Zethkar opened the file again. Pictures showed human soldiers with simple guns and basic armor. Their spaceships used chemical rockets that moved like crawling insects compared to Council vessels. Most importantly, Earth had over 200 separate countries. They spent more time fighting each other than building anything useful. The threat level was marked as negligible. That meant they were not worth worrying about. The door opened with a soft hiss. General Sarah Chen walked in with 3 other humans. She was shorter than most Council species with dark hair and calm eyes. Her uniform was simple but clean. The other humans followed quietly behind her. They looked around the room with interest but no fear. Zethkar had expected the humans to be nervous. Most new species were scared when they first came to Council stations. The technology was beyond their understanding. The other species were often much larger and more advanced. But these humans seemed comfortable, almost like they belonged here. General Chen, Zethkar said, standing up. Welcome to Kepler 442 station. I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Vraxian Empire. I will help your species join the Council's defense network. General Chen smiled and shook his hand. Her grip was firm but not aggressive. Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored to be here. Earth is ready to do its part in galactic defense. They sat down at the long white table. Zethkar pulled up a holographic display showing the local star systems. Red dots marked areas where the Council's enemies, the Hive Collective, had been active. Green areas showed safe Council space. Earth sat right on the border between safe and dangerous zones. Your world is in an important location, Zethkar explained. We need to know what Earth can contribute to our defense. What ships can you provide? What weapons do you have? General Chen looked at the display carefully. We have several fleets ready for service. Our technology may be different from yours, but we learn quickly. We adapt, Zethkar nodded politely. He had heard similar promises from other new species. They all thought they were special. They all believed their primitive weapons could make a difference. Usually they were wrong. The Council would give them simple tasks like supply runs or patrol duty in safe sectors. Tell me about your military structure, Zethkar said. How do you organize your forces? That is an interesting question, General Chen replied. Our military is not like most others. We do not separate soldiers from civilians the way other species do. Everyone contributes to defense in their own way. This confused Zethkar. What do you mean? Soldiers fight. Civilians work. This is how all military forces operate. General Chen's smile grew wider. Not on Earth. We have learned that the best fighters are not always the best soldiers. Sometimes a farmer knows more about supply lines than a general. Sometimes a teacher understands strategy better than a warrior. Zethkar did not understand what she meant, but he continued with the standard questions. They talked about ship numbers, weapon types, and communication systems. The humans gave answers, but something felt different. They were too relaxed, too confident. After 2 hours, the meeting was almost over. Zethkar felt satisfied that he understood Earth's capabilities. They would fit nicely into the Council's plans as a minor support world. Their location made them useful for supply stops and emergency repairs. One more thing, Zethkar said as he gathered his papers. Your species has an interesting history of warfare. So much fighting between your own people. At least this constant conflict has given you some basic tactical knowledge. It may be useful for simple patrol duties. The other humans in the room looked at each other. One of them, a woman with gray hair, almost laughed but stopped herself. General Chen's smile never changed, but something shifted in her eyes. For just a moment, Zethkar saw something that made him uncomfortable. Yes, General Chen said slowly. We have learned many things from our conflicts. We have become very good at solving problems. All kinds of problems. Zethkar did not notice the careful way she said those words. He was already thinking about his next meeting. The humans seemed pleasant enough, and their integration into the council would be smooth. He stood up and shook hands with the human delegation. "The council will send a battle fleet to your system in 3 weeks," he said. "This is standard procedure. We need to see a demonstration of your military capabilities. Nothing too complex. Just show us your ships and weapons so we can assign you proper duties." "Of course," General Chen replied. "We would be happy to demonstrate our capabilities. I think you will find our methods very educational." As the humans left the room, Zethkar made notes in his report. The humans were cooperative and willing to follow orders. Their primitive technology would limit their usefulness, but their location made them valuable. He recommended they be given supply and maintenance duties while stronger species handled actual combat. He sealed the report and sent it to the Council's military command. In 3 weeks, the Vraxian battle fleet Cosmic Hammer would travel to Earth's solar system. They would watch the humans fly around in their slow ships and fire their simple weapons. Then they would assign Earth its role in the greater galactic defense network. Zethkar had done this 17 times before. He knew exactly how it would go. The new species would be impressed by Council technology. They would realize how small and weak they were compared to the galactic community. Then they would accept their place and follow orders like everyone else. What he did not know was that General Chen had also written a report. Her report went to Earth's military command with a single sentence at the end. "Recommend full expert army deployment for the demonstration. Show them what we really are." As Zethkar prepared for sleep that night, he felt confident about the upcoming demonstration. The humans seemed like nice people. They would make good support staff for more important military operations. In 3 weeks, he would add another successful integration to his record. He never imagined that in 3 weeks everything he thought he knew about military power would change forever. 3 weeks passed quickly. Zethkar stood on the command bridge of the Cosmic Hammer, watching Earth's yellow sun grow larger on the main screen. The massive Vraxian battleship was accompanied by 50 smaller vessels. Together, they represented enough firepower to destroy most planets. The Cosmic Hammer was over 3 kilometers long and carried weapons that could crack moons in half. Its shields could withstand direct hits from nuclear bombs. The escort ships were each powerful enough to destroy any primitive fleet. This was the standard force used to evaluate new species. Zethkar expected the humans to be frightened when they saw the Council fleet. Most new species were overwhelmed by such a display of power. They usually begged not to be destroyed and promised to follow any orders. It was always the same. But when the human communication came through, General Chen sounded calm and friendly. "Welcome to the Sol System, Ambassador Zethkar. We are ready for the demonstration. We have prepared something special for you. Proceed to the designated coordinates," Zethkar replied. "Show us your military capabilities so we can determine your role in galactic defense." "We have a small request," General Chen said. "Could we conduct the demonstration in the asteroid belt? We want to make sure there are no accidents near our inhabited worlds." Zethkar was surprised. Most new species wanted to show off their weapons near their homeworld to look impressive, but safety concerns were reasonable. "Very well. Set course for the asteroid belt." The Council fleet moved deeper into the solar system. The asteroid belt was a perfect place for military demonstrations. Plenty of rocks to use as targets and far enough from planets to avoid any problems. When they reached the demonstration area, Zethkar looked for the human fleet. His sensors showed empty space except for the floating rocks. "General Chen, where are your ships?" "Right here, Ambassador." Suddenly, space around the Council fleet began to change. Ships appeared from nowhere, powering up engines and weapon systems that his sensors had completely missed. Zethkar stared at the tactical display in shock. 20, 30, 40 human vessels materialized as if they had been invisible. "How did you hide from our sensors?" he demanded. "We did not hide," General Chen replied. "We were here the whole time. You just were not looking for us correctly." The human fleet was strange. Some ships looked like they had been built for war, with obvious weapons and armor, but others appeared to be converted civilian vessels. Zethkar saw what looked like cargo haulers, mining ships, research vessels, and even passenger transports. They had been modified with weapons and armor, but they still looked like civilian craft. "Why are you using civilian ships in a military demonstration?" Zethkar asked. "That is an interesting question," General Chen said. "Let me ask you something first. What do you think makes a good warship? Sethkar was confused by the question, but he answered. Strong armor, powerful weapons, fast engines, advanced shields. Ships designed specifically for combat. I see. We think about ships differently. We believe the most important part of any vessel is the crew. The ship is just a tool. What matters is who uses the tool and how they use it. The human ships began to move into formation. Sethkar watched with professional interest. The formation looked standard at first, but something was wrong. The ships moved too smoothly together. They acted like they had been fighting as a team for decades, but Earth had no experience with space battles. Ambassador, General Chen's voice came through the communication system again. We would like to show you what we call an expert army. Expert army? Sethkar had never heard the term. His translation systems could not find an equivalent in any known military language. What does that mean? You will understand soon. Please prepare to observe our tactical demonstration. Sethkar signaled his tactical officer. Begin recording everything. I want complete data on their capabilities. The human fleet spread out among the asteroids. Some ships disappeared again, becoming invisible to sensors. Others moved in impossible patterns that should have torn their hulls apart from the stress. Still others began releasing objects that looked like space debris. What are they doing? Sethkar's tactical officer asked. I do not know, Sethkar admitted. This does not match any known military doctrine. One of the converted cargo ships suddenly accelerated to incredible speed and released thousands of small objects. Sethkar's sensors initially read them as junk or broken metal pieces, but when he looked closer, each object was moving on its own course and adjusting its path as it flew. Those are not debris, his weapons officer reported. Each object has its own guidance system and propulsion. They are some kind of intelligent missile. A ship that had once been a mining vessel began firing projectiles at speeds that should have been impossible. The projectiles curved around asteroids and changed direction in flight, seeking targets with perfect accuracy. How are they achieving those velocities? The tactical officer asked. Unknown. Their ships do not appear to have engines powerful enough for such performance. Sethkar watched in growing amazement as the human fleet demonstrated abilities that defied everything he knew about space combat. Ships that looked like flying garbage performed maneuvers that his best pilots could not match. Weapons that appeared crude and simple showed precision and power beyond anything in his fleet's arsenal. But the most shocking thing was the coordination. Every ship in the human fleet worked together perfectly, even though they were all different types with different capabilities. Some specialized in stealth and sneak attacks. Others used overwhelming firepower. Still others seemed to focus on jamming enemy sensors and communications. Each ship fought according to its own strengths, but they all supported each other like parts of a single organism. The diversity that had seemed like a weakness was actually making them stronger. No single defense could stop all their different attack methods. General Chen, Sethkar called, your fleet shows remarkable coordination. How long have these crews trained together? Most of them met each other for the first time yesterday, she replied casually. That is impossible. No fleet can achieve this level of teamwork without years of practice. You are thinking about teamwork wrong, Ambassador. We do not train people to work together. We train people to be the best at what they do. When you put experts together, they naturally work as a team, because they all understand excellence. Sethkar did not understand what she meant, but he could not argue with what he was seeing. The human fleet was performing maneuvers and tactics that his military academy had never taught. They were not just good at fighting. They were good at thinking about fighting in completely new ways. As the demonstration continued, one thought kept running through his mind. If these humans could do this with converted civilian ships, what could they do with real military vessels? And more importantly, what exactly had the Galactic Council gotten itself into? The demonstration moved to the next phase, and Sethkar realized he was seeing something completely new. The human ships that had been moving in formation suddenly scattered in all directions. Half of them vanished from his sensors again. The other half began moving in ways that hurt his brain to watch. Tactical officer, he called, explain what I am seeing. Sir, some of their ships are pulling acceleration forces that should crush their crews. But our life sign sensors show everyone aboard is perfectly fine. That is impossible. Yes, sir, but they are doing it anyway. One of the converted cargo ships released its payload of thousands of small objects. Sethkar had thought they were simple missiles, but now he saw the truth. Each tiny object was thinking for itself, learning from the others, and adapting its attack pattern in real time. They are not just missiles, his weapons officer reported with surprise in his voice. Each one is a small computer that talks to all the others. They are learning how to fight us as they move. The swarm of intelligent projectiles spread out like a cloud of angry insects. Some attacked in direct lines, others curved around obstacles. Still others hid behind asteroids and waited for the perfect moment to strike. Each one learned from the mistakes of the others and tried something new. Meanwhile, the mining ship that had been firing impossible projectiles revealed its secret. It was not using normal engines or weapons. Instead, it was manipulating gravity itself, creating artificial gravity wells to accelerate objects far beyond what should have been possible. How do they know how to do that? Zethkar demanded. Gravity manipulation is theoretical technology. The Council's best scientists have been working on it for centuries. His science officer checked the readings 3 times before answering. Sir, they are not using our theoretical models. They appear to have developed completely different methods that actually work. But the technology was not the most frightening part. The most frightening part was how the humans used it. They did not just have better weapons. They had better ideas about how to use weapons. The stealth ships did not just hide. They appeared and disappeared in patterns that confused his sensors and made it impossible to predict where they would strike next. The heavy assault ships did not just attack with brute force. They analyzed his fleet's defensive formations and found weaknesses that Zethkar had never known existed. Most shocking of all, the converted civilian ships were often more effective than the obvious military vessels. A ship that had clearly been built for scientific research demonstrated the ability to analyze and counter every defensive measure his fleet employed. It learned his tactics faster than he could change them. General Chen, Zethkar called over the communication system. Your fleet shows capabilities far beyond what your technology should allow. How is this possible? We think about problems differently than you do, Ambassador, she replied. What problem do you think we are trying to solve? Combat effectiveness. Defeating enemy forces. No. We are trying to solve the problem of how to apply knowledge most efficiently. Combat is just one type of problem that requires knowledge. Zethkar did not understand. What does that mean? Watch the next phase of our demonstration. You will see the human fleet regrouped into a new formation. This time, instead of scattering, they formed into small teams. Each team consisted of different types of ships working together in ways that made no sense according to standard military doctrine. One team paired a research vessel with a cargo hauler and a mining ship. According to everything Zethkar had learned in 2 centuries of military service, these ships had nothing to offer each other in combat. But as he watched, the research ship began scanning asteroids and sending information to the mining ship. The mining ship used this information to extract resources from the rocks. The cargo ship collected these resources and somehow turned them into new weapons and equipment, all while flying through the middle of a battle. They are manufacturing weapons during combat, his tactical officer reported in amazement. The cargo ship has some kind of mobile factory inside it. Another team combined a passenger transport with 2 escort fighters. The transport should have been useless in battle, but instead it was serving as a mobile command center, coordinating the movements of dozens of other ships across the entire battlefield. The fighters protected it while it managed tactics for the whole fleet. The transport ship is running battle calculations for their entire force, his communications officer said. It is processing more tactical data than our main battle computer. But the most impressive team was a converted research vessel working with what appeared to be a damaged freighter and a small patrol craft. As Zethkar watched, the research ship analyzed his fleet's communication patterns and found a way to break through their encryption. Within minutes, they were listening to all of his internal communications. Sir, his communications officer said nervously, they have accessed our tactical network. They can hear everything we are saying. Change all codes and frequencies, Zethkar ordered. Sir, I am trying, but they break each new code as fast as I create it. The damaged freighter, meanwhile, had revealed that its damage was fake. Hidden inside its broken hull was a massive electronic warfare suite that was jamming his sensors, disrupting his weapons, and feeding false information to his targeting systems. His ships were firing at empty space while the real human vessels attacked from completely different positions. The small patrol craft appeared to be doing nothing important. but Zethkar's science officer had been watching it carefully. "Sir, that small ship is mapping our entire fleet. It knows the location, heading, and capabilities of every vessel we have. It is sharing this information with all the other human ships in real time." Zethkar stared at the tactical display in growing shock. The human fleet was not just fighting his ships. They were learning everything about them, adapting to counter every defense and sharing knowledge instantly across their entire force. Each human vessel was specialized for a specific type of problem solving. But when they worked together, they became something much more powerful than the sum of their parts. They were not just a fleet. They were a thinking, learning, adapting organism that got smarter and more dangerous with every passing minute. "General Chen," he called, and for the first time his voice showed real concern. "What exactly are you showing me?" "This is what we call an expert army, Ambassador. Every person in our fleet is the absolute best at what they do. When we put them all together and give them a common goal, they can solve any problem, including the problem of how to defeat a superior force." As if to prove her point, the human fleet began their next demonstration. And this time, Zethkar realized with growing horror they were using his own ships as practice targets. Zethkar felt his confidence cracking like ice under pressure. The human demonstration had moved beyond impressive to impossible, and now it was becoming terrifying. He needed answers, and he needed them immediately. "General Chen," he called over the communication system. "Request immediate conference. I must understand what I am witnessing." "Of course, Ambassador. I would be happy to explain." A holographic projection materialized on the bridge of the cosmic hammer. General Chen appeared as if she were standing right in front of Zethkar, her calm smile unchanged despite the chaos of battle around them. "General, your fleet is performing maneuvers that should be impossible with your technology level. Your crews are coordinating in ways that suggest decades of joint training. But you claim they just met. Your civilian ships are more effective than most military vessels I have seen. I demand an explanation." General Chen nodded thoughtfully. "You are asking the right questions, Ambassador, but you are thinking about them in the wrong way. You see ships and weapons and technology. We see something completely different. What do you see?" "We see people. Specifically, we see experts." She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show the interior of one of the human ships. Zethkar expected to see soldiers in military uniforms operating weapons and tactical systems. Instead, he saw people in civilian clothes working at stations that looked more like laboratories than battle stations. "That cargo ship you have been watching," General Chen said, "is not crewed by soldiers. It is crewed by the 3 best logistics experts on Earth. They have spent their entire lives studying supply chains, resource allocation, and distribution networks. Now we have given them the problem of keeping a fleet supplied and armed during combat." The display shifted to show the mining ship that had been performing impossible maneuvers. "That vessel is operated by mining engineers who understand physics, materials science, and geological processes better than most university professors. They know exactly how much stress a hull can take, how to extract maximum energy from any power source, and how to make any material do things it was never designed to do." Zethkar stared as the display showed him ship after ship, each one crewed by people who were clearly not traditional soldiers. But how do they know military tactics? How do they coordinate so perfectly? "That is the beauty of an expert army," General Chen explained. "We do not teach civilians to be soldiers. We teach experts to apply their expertise to military problems." She pointed to the research vessel that had been analyzing his fleet's defenses. "That ship is crewed by our best computer scientists, mathematicians, and data analysts. They approach warfare like any other research problem. They gather information, test hypotheses, and find solutions. To them, your fleet's defensive systems are just another puzzle to solve." The display showed the converted passenger transport that had been coordinating the human fleet's movements. "Our transportation specialists understand logistics, scheduling, and resource management better than most generals understand strategy. They see battle as a complex transportation problem, how to move the right resources to the right place at the right time." Zethkar felt his understanding of military power beginning to shift. "But they have no combat experience. How can they be effective in battle?" "Combat experience is overrated," General Chen said simply. "What matters is problem-solving experience. Our people have spent their lives solving the hardest problems in their fields. War is just another type of problem. She gestured again, and the display showed a ship that appeared to be completely civilian, with no obvious weapons or military modifications. That vessel is crewed by our best teachers and trainers. Their job is not to fight. Their job is to learn how your forces operate and then teach that knowledge to every other ship in our fleet in real time. Real-time training during combat? Why not? Our education specialists can analyze your tactics, break them down into simple components, and transmit that understanding to our entire fleet within minutes. Every engagement makes our whole force smarter and more effective. Zethkar watched as another human ship demonstrated capabilities that defied explanation. This one appeared to be a converted civilian transport, but it was performing electronic warfare operations that disabled his sensors and communications across multiple vessels simultaneously. Computer technicians, General Chen explained before he could ask. They spend their careers fixing problems with complex systems. To them, your ship's computers are just another type of system that needs to be adjusted. The implications hit Zethkar like a physical blow. You are telling me that your entire fleet is crewed by civilians with no military training? No, Ambassador. I am telling you that our entire fleet is crewed by the best people on Earth at solving specific types of problems. We have taken experts from every field of human knowledge and given them military problems to solve. The results speak for themselves. As if to prove her point, the human fleet executed a maneuver that left Zethkar speechless. Every ship moved simultaneously in a coordinated pattern that brought them into perfect attack positions against his entire force. But they had done it without any apparent central command, as if each crew had independently calculated the optimal solution and arrived at the same answer. How is that possible? He whispered. When you put true experts together, they do not need detailed coordination, General Chen explained. They all understand excellence in their own fields. They can recognize excellence in others and adapt their actions to support it. Our logistics experts know what the combat specialists need. Our engineers know how to support the scientists. Our teachers know how to share critical information instantly across the entire force. Zethkar looked at his own bridge crew. They were well-trained soldiers who had studied standard tactics and procedures. They followed orders and executed predetermined plans. They were competent and disciplined. But as he watched the human fleet adapt and evolve its tactics in real time, learning from each engagement and becoming more effective with every passing minute, he realized that competence and discipline might not be enough anymore. General Chen, he said slowly, what you are describing changes everything about how military power works. Yes, she replied simply. We know. The holographic display changed one more time, showing a simple civilian-looking vessel approaching the cosmic hammer. Ambassador, I would like you to meet Dr. Elizabeth Nakamura. She has a request for you. The small civilian ship approached the massive cosmic hammer like a tiny insect flying toward a giant beast. Zethkar watched on his main screen as the vessel requested permission to dock. Everything about the situation felt wrong to his military instincts, but he was no longer sure what was right anymore. Permission granted, he said finally. Dr. Elizabeth Nakamura arrived on his bridge 30 minutes later. She was a small woman with gray hair and friendly eyes that seemed to notice everything. She wore simple civilian clothes and carried what appeared to be a basic data pad. She looked completely harmless. Ambassador Zethkar, she said with a polite smile, thank you for allowing me to visit your ship. I hope you have found our demonstration educational. Educational is one word for it. Zethkar replied carefully. Dr. Nakamura, what is your role in this expert army? I am a systems analyst, she said simply. I study how complex systems work and find ways to make them work better. Or in some cases, I find ways to make them stop working entirely. She activated her data pad and held it up so he could see the screen. I have been studying your fleet during our demonstration. Would you like to see what I have learned? Zethkar looked at the data pad and felt his blood turn cold. The screen showed detailed technical specifications for every ship in his fleet. Not just the basic information that sensors could detect, but internal systems, crew layouts, weapon capabilities, shield frequencies, communication protocols, and even psychological profiles of his senior officers. How did you obtain this information? The same way I analyze any complex system, Dr. Nakamura explained patiently. I observe how it behaves, test its responses to different stimuli, and build a comprehensive model of its operations. Your fleet has been providing me with data for the past 2 hours. She touched the screen and showed him more information. For example, your ship's main reactor operates on a harmonic frequency that creates a specific vibration pattern in your hull. By analyzing these vibrations, I can determine your power output, engine efficiency, and structural stress points. Your communication system uses encryption that follows predictable mathematical patterns. Your crew follows standard Vraxian military procedures that are documented in publicly available council databases. Zethkar stared at the data in horror. She had learned things about his fleet that even he did not know. This level of analysis should take weeks or months with advanced intelligence teams. It took our team 38 minutes, Dr. Nakamura said calmly. We had experts in physics, engineering, mathematics, computer science, psychology, and linguistics, all working on the problem simultaneously. When you combine expertise from multiple fields, complex problems become much simpler. She touched the screen again, and the display changed to show tactical analysis. Based on this information, I have identified 17 different ways to disable or destroy your entire fleet. Would you like me to demonstrate one of them? No, Zethkar said quickly. That will not be necessary. Very well. But I should mention that in a real combat situation, we would have used this analysis to eliminate your fleet within the first hour of engagement, not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding of your weaknesses. She showed him more data. Your formation has 3 critical vulnerabilities in its communication network. Your ship's power systems can be overloaded by targeting specific frequency resonances. Your crew's decision-making follows predictable patterns that can be exploited through psychological manipulation. Your weapons have a reload timing sequence that creates tactical opportunities every 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Each weakness she described was accurate and actionable. Zethkar realized that his supposedly impregnable fleet was actually full of holes that he had never seen before. Dr. Nakamura, how many people worked on this analysis? 12 specialists from my ship plus support from teams on 6 other vessels. About 40 people total. 40 civilian academics defeated the security measures of an entire battle fleet. We did not defeat anything, Ambassador. We simply understood it. Once you truly understand a system, influencing that system becomes much easier. General Chen's voice came through the communication system. Ambassador, I hope Dr. Nakamura's presentation has been helpful. Do you have any questions about our expert army concept? Zethkar looked around his bridge at his well-trained, disciplined crew. They were good soldiers who followed orders and executed standard procedures. But they were not innovators or problem solvers. They had never been taught to think like the humans did. General Chen, what you have shown me today changes everything about military doctrine. If other species adopt your methods, they probably will not, General Chen replied. Most species separate their military and civilian populations. They train soldiers to fight and civilians to work. They do not have the cultural foundation to create an expert army. But humans do?
Humans have always been good at taking experts from different fields and putting them together to solve new problems.
We call it interdisciplinary cooperation. It is one of our strongest traits as a species. Dr. Nakamura closed her datapad and prepared to leave. Ambassador, there is one more thing you should understand about expert armies. This demonstration only showed you our defensive capabilities. We have other specialists who focus on entirely different problems. What kind of problems? Logistics specialists who can supply a military force across thousands of light years using captured enemy resources. Economic experts who can destabilize entire planetary governments through targeted market manipulation. Social psychologists who understand how to turn enemy populations into allies. Medical researchers who can develop countermeasures for any biological weapon within hours of first exposure. She paused at the door of the bridge. An expert army is not just a military force, Ambassador. It is a civilization that treats any challenge as a problem to be solved by the people who are best qualified to solve it. When you have experts in every field of knowledge working together toward a common goal, there are very few problems that cannot be solved. As Dr. Nakamura left the bridge, Zethkar sat down heavily in his command chair. He looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet, which had moved back into a peaceful formation among the asteroids. They looked harmless now, like a collection of converted civilian ships playing at being military vessels. But he knew the truth. He had witnessed the birth of a new kind of military power, not based on superior technology or larger numbers, but on superior thinking and problem-solving ability. His report to the Galactic Council would be very different from what he had planned to write. The humans were not a primitive species that could be given simple support duties. They were potentially the most dangerous military force in the galaxy, precisely because they did not think like a military force. They thought like experts solving problems. And in a universe full of complex challenges, that might be the most powerful weapon of all. The demonstration was over, but Zethkar knew that everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same once other species learned about the concept of an expert army. The question was whether the Council would be wise enough to adapt, or stubborn enough to be left behind.